Now let us dive deep into the create and promote stream. What does good look like for this stream? Well, first of all, you have a strategy. Your strategy should not be a secret, obviously. One of the things that we sometimes hear during assessments is when we ask the question about a particular practice, say, do you have coding standards in place? The development team will say, no, we don't have any. But then the CISO would say, I've just reviewed it and it's in that repository. What do you mean we don't have any? So a definition of good includes people knowing where it is, they know how to find it, and they are actually referring to it. Once you've got your strategy and you've stated this is our direction, you need to make it actionable by defining specific goals. And then you want to make sure your strategy is relevant by having regular review cycle. Security, threats, and marketplace conditions might change, and the recommendation is to have an at least annual review or check of that strategy and make sure it is still aligned with the organization's risk appetite, which, by the way, might change as well. Now, here is the first maturity level question that will determine whether you are at this maturity level. And the question is, do you understand the enterprise-wide risk appetite for your applications? Unfortunately, the question could be rather complex to comprehend. So the first prerequisite here is that the enterprise has actually thought about the enterprise-wide risk. What are the risks in the industry? What are the risks in the competitive environment? Could be competitive challenges, corporate espionage, hacktivists, whatever that you see as being sources of risk to your products and customers. Obviously, the executive leadership must vet the risks. And we are talking about the areas of risk that the executive leadership is happy to accept and areas of risk that keep them up at night. So both business and technical threats/risks. Once you have thought all about that, you should also capture it in a foundational document that you can refer to. So the risks should be documented. Now, from the executive level perspective, this activity deals with what have they done to assess and capture the risks and make them known to the organization. From the team perspective, though, it's about whether the team understands where the organization is coming from on this. So it's not only about the executive leadership creating a document and then nobody else knowing about it. Your team should also understand these risks and know especially why they matter. To achieve this, you don't have to make the dev team read lengthy position papers and then check if they have actually read it. It could be a short blog post or an onboarding brief video that they must watch. Here is a quick example. A health data management company might be worried about data breaches that leak information on celebrities, because the subsequent media blow-up and lawsuits could potentially lead to bankruptcy. That would lead to a strategy that is heavily focused on the authorization model and how the VIPs are treated in the software system. Now, we have mentioned that the SAM model measures things in two dimensions. The quality criteria are the definition of done, and that is something that we have already talked about in the previous slide. The second dimension is the coverage criteria, and that looks into the portion of the organization the thing is being done. So for the first maturity level question, the answer options are no, we're not doing it. And by the way, this is in every question we have this same answer for the no. And then the yes answers could vary slightly. So for this question, it is yes, it covers general risks, yes, it covers organization-specific risks, and yes, it covers not only organization-specific risks, but also opportunities. Throughout this course, we assume that the coverage dimension is straightforward. So we will only present one slide per business function as a sort of a reminder that aside from quality criteria, during an assessment, you also need to pick the coverage. When you get to level 2, the question is, do you have a plan and who is responsible for that plan? Once again, you might have one overarching plan or a separate plan per product owner. However, it is essential that once you have a plan, you're actually paying attention to the plan. So your plan is in line with the risk appetite of the organization. Your plan has to have measurable milestones and work with budgets. You look at the plan and decide what the tactical decisions should look like. You're making month-to-month investment decisions by consulting the strategic plan and making sure that the things you focus on are aligned with it. Finally, and obviously, all stakeholders agree on the plan. Those are the quality criteria that would get you a level 2 maturity level for this stream. On the level 3, this is where you have a measurement and feedback review process in place. In other words, have you embraced the fact that this is a living document? Are you keeping it up to date and aligning it with the realities? So, on the first place, you've got that understanding of the enterprise level risk appetite. You're paying attention to that, you're revisiting that as the market climate changes or new threats arise. Then all of that is feeding into your strategy. And the next question is, are you regularly reviewing the strategy and updating it as necessary? Because strategy is broad and talking about general directions, it shouldn't be requiring frequent significant changes. But if the underlying corporate climate has changed or the underlying marketplace has shifted significantly, that needs to be reflected in the strategy. So syncing this with the quarterly board meetings is perhaps a good idea. And obviously, you should involve all the stakeholders when you're updating the strategy. Your updates are also based on feedback loops from other activities. For instance, pen testing activities might indicate that certain problems are regressing. So your strategy might additionally emphasize focusing on making sure that pen testing findings never regress by further investments in the security testing, for instance. Finally, it is essential for this maturity level to have dashboards and measurements for all teams to be able to monitor the progress of the implementation of that security roadmap. The right frequency and strategy depends on your situation, obviously. But in order to say yes on this, there has to be a process, and you need to be able to say honestly, yes, we are reviewing it, yes, we have an update cycle, and we honor it.